this show came out originally in 1978, and at that time it was a drummer plus 2 percussionists, and the whole band played percussion as well. I think there was like 18 people. The reason there's so much percussion is because there's 4 movements in the first act called percussion 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is like 25 minutes of music. And so now what's going on is it's myself and Brandon Elaw, who has a big setup over there, and nobody's playing percussion in the pit. There's 14 people total in the pit, including the conductor who plays piano. And there's a little bit of stuff on track, but really not much. So now, in order to accommodate that, when I got the music, and I should say that this version of Dancin has about maybe 60% of the original stuff, and there's about 40% or more new stuff, or stuff that's been modernized and hippified and things. So in playing through the score in the beginning, I was trying to play everything I could. So I have bongos, timbales, there's a military snare there's a wood block. This is like an anvil sound in the bell. This thing is like a whip sound. Crash cymbals, drums, wood block, another stacks over here, right? It's a China cymbal. And that's basically what's up with the drum kit. And so what happened was, in California, I was using I quickly realized that where the heck am I going to have a music stand with 3 pages or 4 or 5 pages that I need to look at where I could actually play it. Normally I would put it here, but I really needed this space for these instruments. It just didn't work. I couldn't really take out any of the instruments because we needed all the sounds. So I said, okay, let's try the iPad. And I had an air tap, which is an air turn Bluetooth pedal that for drummers, or if you're not familiar with it, there's 2 pads on it. There's a forward, one pad is forward, one pad can be backwards to turn pages. That worked for a number of months, and it got me through California. So I had an iPad Pro here in portrait mode. I was reading. Landscape mode, it was too far away. There's too much ink on the page, too many accents. I couldn't really make that work. So it wound up being 174 page turns. And I knew that if we ever left California and came to New York and I had subs, that would be too hard for a sub to do. So all summer I was like trying to figure out, what am I going to do? And for a couple of weeks I was like, well, I'll just get rid of this tom and put a music stand here, and that would be the end of the day, that would be it. But then I really realized that I need the sound. I need the tom, because the way that part of that percussion suite is built, I need 4 toms, 5 toms even. So I said, let's go back to the iPad. And I realized, of course, so I put it in landscape mode, then it's too far away, I couldn't see it. So I was like, okay, well, I can project it to a screen. That's why I had the screen. So, and this has been brilliant. And frankly, I only started using this the last week of rehearsals in New York, right before we came to New York. Right before we opened here. But once I implemented that, it was a game changer, because the music is huge right in front of you. And it's really pretty amazing. But what happened was the air tap started to fail, and you can't get parts right now. I called them up. There are none available. I looked online. They told me, yeah, try to find one in Australia if you don't see any here. That's literally what they told me. And I said, you're kidding, right? He said, no, try Australia. I'm like, I have a Broadway show that's, Anyway, but they couldn't help me. They didn't have any. They couldn't fix it. And it wasn't a solution that would work. And even when I did have it, the fact that it fell apart and it started to act really erratically, and I couldn't rely on it. So I talked to Jim Abbott, who's a musical supervisor here, and he knows a lot about electronics and gear. And I also talked to Sammy Marandino, who you guys know because Clayton did a great podcast with him. Sammy was a programmer for years, and between me and Sammy and Jim, we realized that it needed to be MIDI. So now this is a Roland trigger going out into, there's an SPDS on the floor there. I don't know if you can maybe see it. All it's being used for is the trigger capacity. And then this, we assigned a MIDI note to it so that it could become a page turner, page forward. And then there's a cable in the back that's literally a MIDI cable going from MIDI out to MIDI through in the back of the unit there that somebody makes that Sammy knew about, and that enables MIDI to convert to Bluetooth. Believe it or not. At that point, I'm using Fourscore here, the program Fourscore. At that point, in the settings of Fourscore, unbeknownst to me, but it exists, there's a thing called MIDI. There's a setting there for MIDI. You press MIDI, and lo and behold, there's a thing called Bluetooth MIDI devices. And you see that BT01, which is this, is connected. And once we did that, all of that with the right cable, the all-important $25 cable that Yamaha makes, that enables this to happen, then all of a sudden it was working. And now that it's working seamlessly, it was a game changer. And if you ever play this book, I hope you do, there's no time between songs for 85-90% of the show. No time. And the whole show is music, and the whole show is dance. It's all about Bob Fosse's choreography and how it relates to the music, and it's all about dance accents like crazy. So I'm really busy, and without the ability to turn the pages instantly, if I was fumbling with paper, the best case scenario is I would be turning pages with one hand and playing with the other hand. You know how you do that. And I'm adept at doing that, but it would be too hard with all this. It wouldn't have worked. So this saved my life here. So thanks, Sammy. I've told him many times, but thanks again. And that's kind of what's going on here.
One quick question.
Yes.
I know you got to warm up. Tell me about why you have all of these different cymbals. Are all these just for your own pleasure, or are they?
Oh, good question. It's a ride. There's 3 crashes and a splash. Okay, so that takes care of these 5 right here, and a hi-hat, right? So that's all normal.
Mm-hmm.
Then that stacks is supposed to be like a whip sound. This is like an anvil sound, so that takes care of all this.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have a crash on my left because I'm left-handed and I play a lot of stuff lefty. This is a hi-hat, and it's a pearl stand. There's no pedal, but I like to play open-handed. And if it's like there's a rock tune at the top and and the end of the show, and I'm really wailing, and it's easier for me I just prefer having it there if it's an open hi-hat banging thing. And I also like there's some closed hi-hat stuff where I'm playing like a Purdy shuffle kind of between the two. This kind of a thing is happening sometimes. I love that. I just love having the option. This is another Stax, just a lower pitch, which I use a lot. There's like, just like as an effect. This is a sizzle saw. That's a China saw with a rivet, with a thing, strand. So there's not really that much.
It just looks overwhelming,
It looks like a lot, but it's not a 4-piece kit. No, definitely not Charlie Watts.
But all of this is necessary.
It's all scored for this. Like it's Calypso number, right? So bongos, timbales, tom, timbali, shell. So it's all Calypso, Latin sounds, right? And then the next thing, percussion 4. This is like a Steve Gadd military snare thing. Basically, but it's a drum set. The one before that starts off with I'm playing famous Miller machine and claves, and Brandon's playing a Grand Casa, so it's very meditative. It's actually here too, so it's the vibe. It's really slow. 1, 2, that kind of vibe, and that's all it is. There's a sizzle cymbal at the end. Then this goes into the next one, percussion 2. It says funk. It is funk, So, but now we've talked about basically on just that whole percussion suite. I've used on those 4 movements. I've used the triangle, timbales, the bongos, this wood block, a lot of this drum set. So yeah, it all gets played. But this is key. If you ever have to have a situation like this, I did a lot of the legwork for you. Me and Sammy Marandino. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed. Sammy is great.
Sammy's great, and for a show, I can't tell you how much pressure it took off when all of a sudden I knew I had the page turn thing solved. Because when you're going tune to tune to tune, and you don't have to think about dealing with paper page turns, and you know it's going to work, and to have it right in front of me, it's brilliant. So I'm looking at the music here, and I'm looking at the conductor there, the whole show. And this is the view of the stage. And normally I don't have the bright light on. It's much, it's a little bit more mellow ambient thing.
Yes, for those that have never seen what it's like in a Broadway pit, this is the drum booth. A lot of shows definitely have drum booths nowadays, and it isolates the sound and makes things easier on the sound people. But
I'm gonna turn this light off so you get a vibe for what it really looks like when I'm playing. So that's really what I'm playing. That's how I play. So now everything that's lit is much more pronounced to me. Yeah, and then maybe you want to look at Brandon's setup. It's pretty extensive over there.
Looks overwhelming because it is.
Yeah, this would be a hard one to sub.
And you've had 2 people sub already?
Yeah, I mean, I had 2 guys sub. The show's closing very quickly. We won't get into why it's closing, but it is. It's a great show. It's a real shame. But yeah, 2 guys were on the books, and Josh Priest and Dan Weiner. Dan's married to one of the girls in the cast, and he saw the show in California. He's a great drummer, and he wanted to do it, and I didn't take, I was like, if you want to do it, I'm not going to take the date away from you. I was getting ready to be out for a couple of days for a wedding in June, so I had to get people in here. And Josh, same thing, he was on the books, and they both did great.
And Carl was learning it, I guess.
Carl Latham was learning it, yes.
Damn.
And Adam Wolf was going to learn it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Broadway's finest. And this double bass pedal, you've always played double bass pedal?
Yeah, I like having that.
It's just you play a lot in the show?
Yeah. It gets
really?
It gets used, colors here and there.
So every drummer that would sub for you has to know how to play.
Would have to know. Yeah, you can't really get away with it. I don't think. I don't know. Yeah, you probably could. I've never had a conductor tell me like, your sub didn't play in double bass drum. I never have. I don't play that much. I like having it though. I'm definitely playing some licks here and there. Because there's some, the top and the end of the show are like a Foo Fighters kind of a vibe.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, oh my God, you're like
really
killing.
Hard. I use heavy sticks in the beginning of it, and then I switch. But yeah, and for that it makes sense to me to have, they need a drum fill. Why not have a double kick there?
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it from the pit tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Seligson.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.